Thank you for joining us for this week's Word of Christ moment. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button right now. You won't want to miss an episode. Well, good morning, Hannah. How
Good
are you?
morning. Good. It's good to see you virtually.
I know, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Well, I first of all just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking time out and for being willing to share your story, being
Yeah.
willing to share a Word of Christ moment. I
hmm
think it's really important that people see Christ working in our lives
hmm
and working every day, because sometimes we miss that He's working,
hmm
especially when we see all the hard things that are happening around us. It's easy to miss what God is doing. So first of all, I want to say
hmm
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I'm
I'd
excited.
love for you to tell us who Hannah is. Would you introduce
Yeah.
Hannah to us?
Yes. Well, I'm Hannah Cook. I just moved down to North Little Rock. I grew up originally in Columbia, Missouri. So I'm a big Mizzou fan. So I know that's a little tough now living down in Arkansas. But grew up a pastor's kid. In college was introduced to Kids Across America camps where I work now. And that's been a big piece of my life, super formative. And now I'm working for them full time. So kind of living my dream job, and just got to move down to North Little Rock, and live with Aaliyah, who you saw
Yeah,
last week. And so just loving this season of life God has brought me to.
that's wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Mizzou fan in Arkansas.
Yeah.
How's that
Yes.
working? Do you
Yeah.
wear
It's
paraphernalia?
I try to be mild. We were just recruiting at U of A last week, so I left my Mizzou stuff at home because I didn't want to start any trouble. But
I understand. I'm an LSU fan. I'm originally from New Orleans, so I get it. All right. So, um, this morning we'll be talking about what if Christ moment. You know, those things
Mhm.
that happen, that God is doing in and among us all the time, but we sometimes miss it with all that's going on. But since
Mhm.
we're going to be talking about a what if Christ moment, I thought it would be befitting that you share your testimony. Like, when did you
Yeah.
meet Jesus?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, growing up a pastor's kid, God has just been a part of my life from the beginning. I got saved when I was 5,
Mm,
and I have vivid memories of even from like first grade of when I remember encountering the Holy Spirit,
mm,
and so it that has always been something that. Um, God has just been a part of my life. And so I'm definitely so blessed to grow up in the family that I did, and just have God be the center of everything. Um, Granted, growing up into high school, being a pastor's kid, that did become difficult just because you have so many eyes on you. High school is a hard time. And I wrestled with um, just knowing, like, is faith my own? I have so many people that are watching me, and I feel like I have to just live out this performative faith. But then I ended up going to a private Christian college, and that was good because it kind of helped me like reground and refocus on the Lord. But it wasn't until I went to Kids Across America camps that I really saw for the first time, lived out how to love the Lord with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength, your physical strength. And I think that's really where I learned the importance of a quiet time. I learned the importance of getting connected to the Lord, like, daily, or else you just
mm.
won't survive. And so having that summer, I think, to just really kind of sand out some of the edges of my faith was so important. And that kind of was a turning point for me, because even at the school I was at, um, my faith was kind of carried for me in a sense, because we had to go to chapel and we had to go to Bible studies. But then it was that kid, it was like, I mean, I could go through this entire summer and not like get connected to the Lord, but I won't make it. And so I think that was very, very critical for me. Definitely things have not been easy my entire life, but the Lord has been constant for me. And so, yeah, that's kind of been my journey.
Well, that's great. You went to KAA as a college student?
I did. My sophomore year was my very first summer. Yeah.
Okay. And another question, you said that were saved at the age of 5, and you talked about having some vivid memories there. But then when you got to KAA, it was an opportunity where you were able to see what it really looked like to walk that faith out. So
Yeah.
can you tell me, like, how did you see your life change?
Yeah.
Having Christ as, God is a part of your life, your entire life, being a pastor's child. But when you get to that place where you're owning it as your own, how did you see your life change?
Yeah. Yeah. I think because at KAA, it was like, nobody else is going to carry this faith for me. Nobody else is, I mean, people were checking in, but in the chaos of camp, it's not like everybody every day was like, hey, you want to go do Bible study together, or have you prayed today? It was just like, our kids need to be poured into, and so like, you better be poured into yourself to be able to pour out. And so after that summer, it was really me realizing, like, I can choose God for myself regardless of where I'm at. And I've seen him show up for me so many times. But I think that was such a pivotal time, because it was like, man, okay, I saw God work so crazy, so many things that summer. And I want that outside of the camp environment. Like, I want God to be doing radical things in and through me in my everyday life too. And so I think that's kind of how it's changed. It's like, God is so important. Like, he's priority. My time with him is priority, because I want to see those crazy things that happen at camp happen every day.
Great. You said 2 things that really stood out to me. One was you were at camp and you were pouring out to kids, but you knew in order to be able to pour out, you needed to be poured into. I love that. And the other thing you said was you wanted to see God doing radical things in your life all the time. That's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
And we can expect those things. A lot of times we feel like we can't expect those big things, but God is really a big God, so we can expect those things. I love that.
Absolutely.
So, you have a favorite scripture?
I do. One of my favorites is Romans 8:28, which says that we know in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. And that's a verse that my mom has kind of given to me since I was a kid. And it's something that has really stuck with me. And I like how she has an analogy for how she breaks it down, but it's kind of like our life is like in the process of making a cake. And so we have all these ingredients. We have flour and eggs, butter, sugar, and by themselves, they don't really make sense. You wouldn't just want to eat flour. Right. But when you put all of those things together, you make a cake, which is really awesome. And so that's such a reflection of our lives, of with different seasons that individually don't make sense or are really difficult or don't taste good, but God works all of those things together for his good and for his glory. And that's his promise to us if we love him and if we serve him. And so that is definitely a verse that has stuck with me.
Absolutely. And we can trust that. You're right. He made that promise and we can trust it. Have you seen, can you maybe think of a time where you saw that work out?
Yeah. I think even this past summer is still kind of fresh on my mind. Just with COVID, we didn't have physical camp. And so, I mean, I work full time for the camp. So we spend 9 months out of the year preparing for the summer. And then all of a sudden it was like, we're not going to have a summer. And so it was one of those times that I was like, Lord, this isn't fun. And I'm not really excited about this. And I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you because I know that you're going to still use this summer. And I know that if I just continue to trust in you, I've seen him be faithful time and time again.
Yes.
And so sure enough, we were able to reach like 100,000 people virtually through our virtual camp, even more than we could have in a normal summer. And so it was like, this isn't the way I would have done this summer, but God still used it for his good. And so, yeah.
So how many kids do you normally reach during a typical summer?
During the normal summer, we have around 8,000. So the reach was so much greater than.
Oh my goodness. Talk about working it out for you good, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. That's great. So I do want to hear like what is a what if Christ moment? And those what if Christ moments are those times when everything just seems to line up. You know, it wasn't anything that you did, but they all line up. Or maybe those times when you just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. You don't think about it. There's no thought. Just jump in and do it. Or maybe those times when you can just look around and see that God's will is being done on earth as it is in heaven. So do you have a what if Christ moment to share with us?
Yeah. As I was thinking about this what if Christ moment, I was like, man, I feel like I have so many because I've seen God so tangibly show up in my life time and time again. But as I was praying about what to share, I thought of something that just happened this past summer. I was living out at the campgrounds, even though we weren't having camp. And I had all my stuff in a cabin. And so one day I was in the cabin just kind of organizing my stuff. And I found a bunch of coins that I just have not turned into the bank. And so I gathered up all those coins. I was like, man, I need to get these to the bank. You know, they're useless just sitting in this cabin. And so I went to the bank, cashed it in, and it was $160. I was like, man, okay, that was a lot of money I just had sitting in there useless. And then I was in a Bible study with some ladies, and one of the girls in the Bible study had just got accepted to med school, which is super awesome and also super expensive. And so we decided we wanted to bless her. And so they divided up her first tuition payment that was due. And they said if each person could give $160, that would cover it. And I was like, hang on a second. God just gave me $160 yesterday. And so I was just blown away because, I mean, I could have given her the $160, but it was just such a cool reminder of God working. And not only is he going to provide for me, but he's going to provide for her. And he's going to, if we allow God to just use us as a vessel, he'll work in and through us. And so just what a great like confirmation of God being faithful time and time again. And even though that kind of seems small, like it's significant. And that's just another way that I think the Lord allows us to build our faith when he gives us those moments of, okay, if I say yes to God, you know, my what if moment, what if I am obedient? Then he is able to bless somebody else through me, and I'm blessed to be a part of that. And so that was a really cool moment that I had this summer.
That is really cool. I love that. I love those types of stories where you know, it's like God just shows up like, okay, I know what's coming, I know what's happening out there, so I'm gonna put these things in place right here so that when you see it, when you actually get to that point, you know that it had to be me.
Yes, without a doubt.
That's really cool. And then I love what you said is when we are obedient to him, like just a nudging to go and do this, when we're obedient to him, not only do we reap the benefits of the blessings, but other people get to reap the benefits of the blessings. So it's this ripple effect. So our obedience is not just for us, but it's for all those around us. So I love that. That's wonderful.
And then I'm able to get to share that testimony here, and other people are able to hear that. You know, it's just
absolutely.
I don't know.
That's great. And you know, a lot of times, like you said, that was really cool. And sometimes people might miss that. They might not see that as a what if Christ moment, but that is a what if Christ moment. What if I was obedient? The things that he called me to at this moment was for
Mhm.
preparation for what was happening, that he knew was happening,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
how all that worked out.
Yeah.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. So
Yeah.
if you, I mean, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? Something that you want them to know?
Yeah, I think something I've just been realizing lately is the more we spend time with God, the more we look like Him. You know, we are
Mm,
not inherently good,
mhm.
and it's only through God working through us that we are able to produce the fruit of the Spirit. And I like the analogy, you know, Aaliyah and I spent a lot of time together, and so we start kind of saying each other's phrases or doing things that the other one does just because we spend so much time together.
Mhm.
And how much more should I look like God when I spend time with Him, because His attributes rub off on me? And
Absolutely.
so that's just something that I've been learning kind of in this season of, um, you know, don't let your faith become legalistic. Like, God just genuinely wants to spend time with us.
Mhm.
And then the more that we do, the more we're able to produce good fruit for His good and for His glory. And so that kind of takes the pressure off of, oh man, I didn't get a quiet time in today, so God's disappointed in me. And you know, it's just like, man, I want to have more love today, so I need to spend time with God. I need some self-control, so let me spend time with God, because that's who He is. And
Mhm.
so yeah, that's just been something I've been learning in this season.
That's great. I love the statement you said that the more you spend time with God, the more you begin to look like Him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said that, when we allow Him to work in and through our lives, then it takes the pressure off us.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, because
great.
I can't produce all those fruit on my own. That's
Right.
literally impossible.
Right. That's
So yeah,
wonderful.
yeah,
But I sure thank you, Hannah. I'd
yeah.
love to pray for you before we go. Can I pray for you?
I would love that.
Let me pray for you. Mm. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for my sister Hannah. And just so grateful that I get to say that I get to call her sister, because that's what she is.
If you have questions about salvation or need help finding a local church, please send an email to whatifchrist.com.